Sure.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Preenon. I'm the Director of Communications for the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, and thank you again for joining us for our virtual breakfast with benefits. And today we have a really important topic, one that people often don't think about. It's called how household pests, excuse me, could kill a deal. And our guest today is Mike Robinson, and Mike is the owner of Waverly Pest Control, and he is going to tell us all what we need to look out for as realtors when we're, going with potential homeowners to try to, spot some potential problems to make the homeowner aware of what's there. So, Mike, without any further delay, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mary. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. I just wanted to thank you all for signing up for this breakfast with benefits with Waverly Pest Control. I am Mike Robinson, founder and CEO of Waverly Pest Control, so I will be your speaker this morning. Just a quick background, so we're not boring you here. Waverly Pest Control was founded by myself, so we're not a franchise type of business. We've been around 27 years now, and we're based out of the Dutchess County area, basically serving the Hudson Valley from both sides of the river, from the Bronx all the way up to the Albany area. So, as well as adjoining counties. We're a member of the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, as well as the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce. So enough about Waverly. Let's get to how Waverly can help you sell your listing. Our objective this morning and each day is to help educate our customers on pest control so they can understand how and what procedures or products Waverly applies to their homes and or yards that are not harmful to our pets, but they address the target pests. So when you, the realtor, as a home listing, your objective is to get that home sold. You review with the seller what they need to do to assist in selling the home fast, staging, the typical declutter, paint that room, or whatever may be the topic of this particular site. Maybe some neglected landscaping as well as pest control could be overlooked, as always, and has been a very solvable issue for a home that's going to be listed. And pest control is rapidly becoming a key component in the staging side of it for listing a property. And as you know, knowledge is power. So, as you all know well, there are homes that are occupied and unoccupied homes and multiple dwellings on the property. Homes with quirky areas that are difficult to access and neglected. And there are kinds of buyers, different kinds of buyers and sellers. First-time homeowners, downsizing, refinancing. You got your flippers. Be very aware of those flippers. Bring two separate companies sometimes and often try to cover up an issue. That's where we come in. That's what's key about what we do. So in some cases, we can discover if something's been covered over, which a lot of times the sellers are trying to get away from handling the job the proper way or getting into another expense while they're trying to sell the property. Well, basically, let me open it up for a couple of questions. Does anybody have any questions right now at this point that you'd like to address? Is there any way to see this at all? Mary?
You can, since we have a smaller group, you could just take yourself off mute, or you could put any questions in the chat and I can ask Mike.
Okay, understood. All right. So getting back to what I was just addressing, each situation could present a variety of pest control needs as well when you're trying to sell this home. If a home inspection notes evidence of wood destroying insects, which could be termites, powder post beetles, carpenter ants, sometimes carpenter bees, that is what all buyers, sellers, and lenders all dread, that red flag. This calls for a licensed pest control company to come in and perform a full wood destroying insect inspection on a particular form. It's usually for New York, it's an NYPM-33 form. Now on these forms, it's going to have all the information on that form stating whether there's been either varying conditions, if there's inaccessible areas, inaccessible crawl spaces, issues with the property pertaining to trying to do a proper inspection. A lot of the inspections that we do perform are all visual inspections. So in some cases, it's all about what we could see as opposed to what we can't see. And that's pretty much what you'll see on these forms. Now, if there's been a previous issue, let's say with carpenter ants, you go in, carpenter ants, for example, will leave behind evidence that they were there, which is usually sawdust frass. It looks like somebody came in with a saw and just cut a hole or cut an opening in the floor. And normally it has ant particles mixed in with it. And that's usually a telltale sign that we know that there's been a previous carpenter ant problem. Now, if it's active or inactive, unless they've got some proof that they've treated it, or we're not seeing any activity at the time of the inspection, that will determine where pretty much it's going to go from there. In other cases, we've done termite inspections where we've seen people cut out parts of wood and paint it without removing the other evidence that termites do leave behind. One of the main keys is the wood damage, the type of damage that it is, and then also mud tubes that lead up or coming in from the outside to either a sill plate or some sort of wood to soil contact, wherever that tube is going to come in contact first with those termites. Those are the telltale signs in the beginning of any basic termite inspection. As far as other wood destroying insects go, you have powder post beetles. I don't know how familiar you are with that. They have these little pinholes that are in the wood. And it could be anywhere from the attic on down. That's why when we perform some of these inspections, we have to do the entire house. It's not just from the ground floor. In our part of the country, we have what is known as subterranean termites in the Northeast. Now, the termites themselves, there's millions of them underground. Now, you could have several colonies within a 1 acre property, half-acre property, and in some cases, it's just a matter of time before they will eventually get to a house. The reason why I say that is because termites themselves are the only insect that can digest for a food source cellulose, and cellulose is made of what wood is made of. It could be cardboard, it could be paper, it could be the backing of sheetrock. That's also made of cellulose. The sill plates, if anybody knows anything about construction on a house, you have a sill plate and a rim joist and floor joist and subfloors, all kinds of things that pertain to contact where these insects come out of the ground and utilize that property as a food source. So it's very key to get the right information and the right inspector in on these inspections for you. And we can at least guide you as far as what to expect. Some of the things we also do on a termite inspection is we try to, we play detective a little bit. We try to get an idea if there's been signs of a previous treatment, if we do find damage. If there's been drill holes, if there was a liquid treatment performed, or if there's bait stations on the exterior, you'll see them. They look like little round discs planted in the ground, maybe about 2 or 3 feet out away from the perimeter boundary of the house. This way, you know what you're looking for as well. On the inside, if it's an older structure, in most cases, when they were doing the liquid treatments back in the day, you would see about 1/2-inch diameter drill holes. And they'll be dotted around the perimeter of like a garage or a basement area, or it could be in a crawl space. The thing is, you really need somebody that knows what they're looking for to be able to tell you, is this an active problem? Is this not an active problem? Because it could cause an issue with the listing. And it does scare people, it scares potential buyers when they don't understand what's going on. So if there's been signs of a previous issue and they have documentation to back it up, like a warranty still in effect, it should not affect the sale of the house. It should actually help the sale of a house, because it's really just a matter of time, really, when just about each home is going to have an issue of some sort with some sort of wood destroying insect. Because when those houses were created and built, the trees that were there in the beginning, which is what these creatures feed on, their nature's way of breaking it down and turning it back to compost, has been replaced with the same product, which is they felled the trees, put them in the mill, come back, now you got a 2x4. Basically, it's the same food source. So you're just replacing one food source for another, and these creatures don't know that. They just think it's lunchtime. So basically, that's what happens, and it shouldn't really affect the sales. So if you educate the possible buyer on what they're looking at, that's part of it. So maybe do a little homework on your own, or you can give us a call. We can help educate you on that a little bit. Same way with carpenter ants. Everybody has an ant problem from time to time. And the thing about ants is that if they're in your house, there's either some sort of water damage, there's a water leak, there's some sort of moisture buildup that's attracting these ants to want to stay there. They normally have a main colony nest outside in either a root system of a tree nearby. It could be, even 100 yards away. They'll travel that far. And for most people who understand how ants march, they're always following one another. That's because they leave a pheromone scent that they can pick up with their antenna to communicate. That's how ants communicate. The thing is that they might have a main nest outside and set up a satellite nest in the house where the food is. A lot of times people have food debris under their refrigerators. It could be other pests inside the house, spiders, other insects that ants will feed on. They are carnivorous, so they not only eat other insects, but they eat one another. So that's why we always find these particles mixed in when we're doing an inspection. So if that's the case, we could at least determine what's going on, where the problem is. So we played detective, we put this all together in this report. And the report has other details to it as well. It might have conducive condition listings, such as were there, appliances in the way? Was there, all other types of storage that might have been in the way, trying to block, trying to do a thorough inspection. When you go into an attic, sometimes there's a lot of insulation in the attic. So what we're looking for is signs of that, sawdust frass, and also signs of any water damage that might have come from a leak in the roof. It could be caused by ice dams in the wintertime, blocked up on the gutters. It causes leaks that way. Downspouts that aren't pushed away from the house. Sometimes they're not even on the house. Sometimes the rain is just falling right off the roof. I mean, we've seen some nightmare jobs. And you just shake your head at some of this stuff, but it all gets documented. And the main thing in our business is to make sure everything is documented, as well as taking pictures. So besides educating you realtors on what to expect in the field, we're documenting everything as well behind it. So that's what usually comes with our inspections when we do that WDI with the form. And you'll have all the photos that will accompany that as well. It usually goes to whoever's part of that email. So it could be if the buyer's paying for it, or if the seller's paying for it that hired us, or if it's yourselves. If you want to get in on it, you could be CC'd as well, just to make sure you're up to speed and know what's going on. So let's say, for example, you come across this problem and it causes a red flag. Main thing is you want to do is you want to follow up with the inspector first to find out what went wrong or what they found that could be a problem, and what you're going to have to do to negotiate with either the seller as far as who's going to take care of this. And I've seen different deals go down where sometimes the seller will work out a deal with the buyer. Buyer will assume as is condition. As long as the mortgage company approves that, they can work out who's going to handle the repairs on that. But the main thing is to really try to educate yourself as to what to expect and what to see coming up on these deals. So,
Mike,
yeah.
we just had a question in the chat from Mary, and she says, first time home buyer, house had old termite damage. Inspector scared the daylights out of them. They thought the house would fall down. What would you have told them to calm their fears? I tried all the usual, but the inspector actually told them not to buy the house.
Well, if that was a home inspector, then it depends on who's paying for that particular report. As far as how to handle that, I mean, basically the thing about it, it all depends on what the damage was that he found and how serious the problem was. So gauged on the neglect of doing the treatment, or has it been treated in the past and neglected, As far as maintenance, it all depends. There's a lot of varying factors. The thing about it is that usually a home inspector is looking for the structural integrity of a property. So unless I saw the details, it's kind of hard to give you a direct answer. But mainly the thing is if there is a red flag with something like that, the way I would handle it is I would explain to the people considering buying it, what is it that they're looking for exactly? I mean, if it's a perfect house, then they're going to have that mindset when they're walking into a deal. It might not have been a house for them to begin with. If there is an issue that showed up, it all depends on who's going to handle that issue. It doesn't mean the house is going to fall down. It would take a very long time for whether it be termites, carpenter ants, paddle beetles, any other mentioned, to eat an entire house. It's not like the old cartoons of Popeye and Tom and Jerry's. I think they exaggerated it quite a bit for entertainment purposes. But in all, as far as termites go, I just got a little bit of information because I was going to ask you guys some questions. I wanted to fill you in a little bit about them, but just looking for my thing here. The thing about the life cycle of a termite is that they can live in the ground between 2 to 50 years. A drywood queen could live up to 10 to 12 years. Whereas a subterranean termite, which is what we have in our part of the country, can live up to 30 years, constantly cranking out and creating more and more termites. So that gives you an idea of what kind of insect you're looking to deal with. As far as trying to calm anybody looking to buy a house, the thing is that anyone buying a house is always looking to take a risk at either what's been on, what has happened in the past with this house. So I'd always recommend try to get as much homework on this, as much background information as you can on this property, besides what it says in the listing, by talking to the seller, see what you could find out as far as that past issue goes. Did they have a warranty on that job? If so, is it transferable to the new owner? I'm just trying to think some other things to consider. Like I said, it's not going to be a situation where the house is actually going to fall down. It would take a very long time for that. But if they're willing to do the repairs necessary, that could be negotiated in the deal. So that's how I would explain it to them. If somebody is advising them not to buy a house and they're paying for it, well, you got to kind of play with that with kid gloves. It's just a little sketchy kind of thing.
How much of an expense is that off the top of your head? Like just
termite?
Yeah.
On your average, say 2,500 square foot house, you're looking at possibly a $2,500 expense. Depends on what's got to be done. It could be a combination of a liquid treatment, which is going to require drilling and pumping termiticide into the soil. And the way that works theoretically is that you're trying to get both sides of the foundation wall going around the property. It could be the garage and the house, which would be the basement areas. And then you're treating the exterior and interior sections. So you're trying to put a barrier that overlaps into the soil to try to prevent these termites from coming up and gaining entry to eat the house, do more damage. The other part of the treatment also consists of doing a baiting system. And the baiting system works where they sink those stations, maybe 10 to 12, depending on how large the property is, around the house, maybe usually about 2 to 3 feet away from the perimeter of the structure. And they're planted and it's set with basically an attractive cellulose round tablet that's in there. And once they get a live hit off of these things, because they will deteriorate sitting in moist, damp soil, once you do get a hit, you do the bait and switch concept. You take that one out and you put the active ingredient in, and the way that works is it will take the bait back to the colony, and it starts to work in a domino effect. The more they start tapping into it, the more you're going to knock down the numbers. So that's pretty much how that works, and that's around the pricing for something like that. Any other questions? All right, so we'll continue. Just going over my notes here. So basically, Waverly works close with many real estate offices and respects your availability. More often than not, Waverly is given a lockbox code, and we could do the WDI inspections and other agreed pest control work without the listing agent needing to be there physically on site. So in some of those aspects, we have, gained access, we could coordinate things with your office. Our flexibility is fairly quick. We have an immediate turnaround now, so there's no more long wait time to have to email something out to you. It gets sent automatically. We have digital capability now. So everything that we do on the inspection, as soon as we're done, it's sent to you automatically wherever the email is supposed to go. So you have that availability from us as well. So it's a quick turnaround. Any WDI job that come with a year's warranty and is passed on to the next owner of that property. If termite bait stations were sunk on the exterior of the home, we inspect them bi-monthly. So we come out there usually during the warm weather months. It's usually anywhere from March, April to mid-November, and we're constantly checking those stations as well if they have a year, if they signed up for like a year warranty contract, and they can be transferred from owner to owner. So if we do the job, let's say in 2022, and they sell the house halfway through 2022 into 2023, it automatically is still covered, even if the new buyer doesn't want to continue with that warranty. But it's usually to their advantage to maintain some sort of idea of what's going on that property, just in case. Some people opt to, if they don't see a problem, they think, okay, well, it's gone away now. But that's not always necessarily the case. It might have just stopped for the time being, and then eventually it could come back. A lot of the liquid termiticides now that they formulated are more green aware, which means that they don't last as long in the ground as they used to years ago. When I came into this business back in 1984, they were still using chlordane, which was an oil-based termiticide, and it lasted in the ground 70 years. The thing about that now is with the way the environment has gone and the way mishandling has gone in the past, now you're only getting about 5 years out of those products, and you might have to give it a booster treatment after that time frame. So the baiting systems are a really good indicator to maintain what's going on. So in order to prevent the loss of that sale, let's say they do an inspection, they find an active problem, the treatment is done. The thing about it is trying to stay up on those warranties, because they are very key to catching things early, just like going to the doctor and maintaining yourself, on a yearly checkup, physical, whatever the case may be. Because if you let it go, it could become another problem later on down the road. Not to mention, it could become a structural problem later on down the road, and that could be even more expensive than just getting the treatment done. So that's pretty much what most people want to avoid, is additional costs moving forward. So with that said, I see somebody else has a question. Is there another question there, Mary, in the chat?
Oops, I have to unmute. Says, how many people on your team?
How many people? We have 8 people working for us at the moment. We're currently hiring, so we're looking to pull in at least a couple more techs. We're a very strong growing business here in Hudson Valley. And I have a couple of people that are certified specifically for termite control, which is a 7C category with New York State DEC. The thing about our business, as I'm sure with yours, is basically on a 3-year cycle, our licenses have to be renewed. So there's constant education and credits which are needed to reapply for your renewal of your license on a yearly basis. So everybody's always up to speed on the latest technology, the latest chemicals that are available, the latest tools to do a job much more quickly and efficiently and safely. It's how the industry has become now, pushing towards more ecologically sound and safe ways of eliminating pests without harming anyone else in the process. And it's a very intricate business. I mean, all in all, I didn't come into this out of high school with like, I can't wait to become an exterminator. That wasn't on my hit list. But a lot of people that I've talked to in the business have all come into it sort of by accident, whether it was for the need of a job or something temporary when they were in between college or whatever the case may be. But it's become a lucrative business in a lot of ways as well. It's more of a science combination as well as an educational PR type of understanding. Back in the day when I was doing this, I used to just come in there and people saw a sprayer and there's like, oh, the bugs are over there and go kill them. And it's not like that anymore. Now there's more of a science behind it. There's a lot more education to what the target pest is. It's kind of like understanding the target pest and what's the best means possible to do this treatment. They have what they call IPM, which is just short for integrated pest management. And what that means is you're using several different techniques to get rid of one problem. So instead of just coming in there and spraying everything down, which some people think we come in with a flamethrower, you'd be surprised. It's really evaluating what's going on during an inspection and then gauging which methods are going to work the best for that particular customer, as well as getting the results they want to get rid of that problem. Because most people don't want the problem. They don't understand how they got it. So that's part of what we do. Sorry about that. Is educating them first off how you got the problem. Education is key. Secondly, how we're going to put a plan together to eliminate that problem. Third is doing the job in a safe manner. And four is backing it up with either follow-ups or some sort of maintenance program to make sure that problem stays gone. It could be a combination of exclusion repairs. Some people have openings and holes that they're not aware of where these creatures can get in, mice, bugs. I mean, you'd be surprised once you start looking around your house, just how many openings there are. A lot of people complain about stink bugs, especially this time of the year. They're like, oh, all of a sudden the weather goes up to about 50, 60 degrees. Now they're inundated with stink bugs or flies or ladybugs, usually between January and March. That's because these bugs got into your home back in the fall and laid eggs that carry their species over winter to hatch, and now they're all over your place. But they'll get in between an opening, a crack, the size 1/32 of an inch to get into an opening. It doesn't take much. Mice, for example, are great climbers. People mistake the fact that how they got into their house. They always think they're going to make a hole like you would see on the cartoons like Tom and Jerry. All right, they just gnaw a hole and they get in. It's not always the case. Sometimes they can climb up. They'll scale like decorative brick, stucco brick. If you have an opening, let's say a dryer vent that's coming out from your basement, okay, and the flap is constantly open and there's nothing to cover it, they do have covers that you could put right over there that would prevent rodents or birds from getting in. But the thing is that if it's within 12 to 18 inches, a mouse can hop from a standstill, just like a cat. They'll spring right up into that area if the surface is too smooth. So most people don't even understand that concept. Why would you? Until it shows up, becomes a problem. But that's part of what we do. It's part of the IPM process. It's part of educating you. It's part of educating the buyer, as to what to expect. I mean, a lot of houses have mice problems. We come across it all the time, but they also do come with safety hazards as well. And it's not just mice, it could be bats too. If we're doing an inspection for a WDI, for example, which is what we've started with talking about from the beginning, a lot of times we'll pick up other pest problems that are in that house. I'll give you one example. We had a raccoon issue on a house that had been sitting for a while. And the raccoons were coming in, they were climbing up the drain spout, getting on the roof, and then going in the vent of an attic. And a lot of times you got those louvers on those vents and they'll just spread them apart, set up shop. So they'll inhabit that structure until somebody comes along and find out. And if you're doing a showing and they're hearing things, that's not a good sign. So it's always smart to maybe have a professional come out and check it out for you, or pick up on it if it's been had a WDI inspection performed on that property. So long story short, basically we had to set up some trapping, capture the animal, remove them safely and relocate them, and then we just re-release them. But that's part of what I'm trying to get at. As far as the mice and the bats go, they have the droppings. They can leave parasitical they can transfer parasitical diseases, such as the hantavirus or SARS, for example, which is where the corona stuff started from. At least that's what they're claiming it at the moment. But these are also airborne types of illnesses that people can get if they're not aware how long that's been up there, if it hasn't been removed, if the problem hadn't been taken care of. So that's where we come in to try to keep the public safe, as well as try to remove the pest problem. So there's a lot going on here.
Mike,
Birds, yes.
there was another question. Someone's asking, how do you treat crickets?
Crickets, well, it depends. Usually they're in a basement or a garage in most cases, someplace where it's damp and moist. There's a bait that you can utilize to put down that they'll feed off of, and it'll knock them down fairly quick. Like I said, exclusion work, trying to seal off or do some repairs that might be necessary to eliminate any flooding or water issues, moisture, mold, another big one everybody comes across. These are all conducive conditions. So what that means is that they're perfect scenarios for these critters, whether it be a vertebrate animal or an insect, to thrive. And until you eliminate these issues, either by sealing them out or correcting what's causing the problem, sometimes it can be this issue that just continues ongoing. It just until somebody takes care of it properly. That's another big one as well. So normally that's what we do for crickets. And like I said before too, on these inspections, we could pick up on that stuff, as well as just going in to do a wood destroying inspection. So you're getting a combination of experience for other things as well as that in the process. So getting back to where I was at. Let's see. Also, yeah, what I wanted to get on too is I've gone on to some properties that we're doing an inspection on, and we'll come across a live bee nest right in the bush. Let's say you're going up to the front door. That's the last thing you want somebody to come across also. So not everything gets knocked down with just an instant bee spray. Sometimes those nests, just so you're aware of it, can hold anywhere from 500 to 2,000 drones in a good sized yellow jacket nest or a bold-faced hornet nest. And sometimes people have allergic reactions, so you don't know who's going to have what. You might want to keep an eye open for something like that, and take care of it or eliminate it quickly. You can give a call to a professional. I wouldn't suggest doing it yourself because a lot of things can go wrong. We've seen that as well. That is a main concern. And the thing about yellow jackets is that they're a very elusive type of nesting hornet. It's basically what they are, is a hornet. And they can nest inside the crack or an opening along the door molding, say the front door. They could be in a bush. They could be underground. I mean, I've seen them in all kinds of scenarios, and that's usually the yellow jackets, and they're very aggressive. And you know, there's very large numbers of them. So you have to always try to keep an eye on that as you're coming in and approaching a door when you got a potential seller and you're showing the house. Might want to call a professional and get rid of that. Also, if there's any rodent activity, any bait stations that you might see on the property that can show telltale signs that there's been a previous problem with that. Sometimes there will be gnawed openings around the garage doors where you got the rubber that comes down and seals either the bottom or the sides of it. Maybe picking up on that. It'll definitely be picked up on the inspection. So these are some things that if you're going to do a staging setup to where you want to get the most for this property and you want it to look primo, the thing is you might want to consider taking care of the pest problems as well, so that the less anybody sees, the less problems that are going on with this place, the better it's going to be for your sale. You're educating them and you're being upfront with them. And most people just want you to give it to them straight, because for a lot of people, they're laying out a lot of dough to buy these places. And especially with the first time homeowners, you know, they're pretty much, they're inexperienced in most cases. They're a brand new couple or whatever the case may be. And they really need to get the right information. You know, we want to be that particular company for you and for your potential customers as far as moving forward goes. You want a company that's going to give it to you straight. And that's what we're all about. That's pretty much where we come in. And if you have any questions or if you have any concerns, you can reach us either online at waverlypc.com, or you can call us direct at 845-297-6700. And then we'd be glad to help you out, give you the right advice, or at least point you in the right direction moving forward.
And Mike, we did have a couple more questions.
Sure.
One is about those little ants, I guess those little teeny tiny ants. Someone's asking if they can do damage to the structure of the house. And the other one is about how to prevent roaches from getting in.
Okay, the little teeny tiny ants, they're usually pavement ants, or they'll come through any crack. They're the ones that make the little mounds outside in the sidewalk cracks. They won't cause any damage to the house whatsoever. They're basically looking for either a carbohydrate or a protein to, satisfy what the nest is requiring at that time. So they'll trail up. Usually most people see them on the counters, the kitchen areas, bathrooms, anywhere there's a moisture issue or food debris that was left over. That's the only reason they're there, and it's usually a temporary situation. They're under every single structure, every possible piece of property. They're underground everywhere. So it's basically, you can set up the little bait discs because they are looking for a food source, so you give them an alternative, and it's really a poison. They'll take it back and they'll knock the numbers down, and usually within about 10 days, the problem will correct itself. And what was the other question again?
About roaches. How do you prevent roaches?
Well, the thing about roaches, first off, is understanding how you got them. In most places, they're basically a hitchhiker. Roaches will come either from the grocery store, from the products that you put in the bag. A lot of times people don't realize the main thing that most people don't understand is that glue is a food source to the cockroaches. And everything in the store that's in a box has a glue tab on it to seal the box shut. Whether it's on the bottom of the box, the top of the box, doesn't matter. And there's usually enough of a space for a roach to be inside. Unsuspectingly, most people don't even know they brought the thing home from the store. So next question is, how did they get to the store? They got to the store from the distribution center. So they might have had a roach problem at the distribution center or the manufacturer. So these guys are constantly always hitchhiking along, and they show up, but they're an easier problem to get rid of in a standalone structure. If you're talking about an apartment complex or a condo, well, then it could be a neighboring issue. Could be coming in from somebody else's house. Somebody might have carried it in. Bed bugs, another story. Same concept. They're also hitchhikers. And it has nothing to do with sanitation. They basically, you go on vacation and stay at a nice resort or a hotel, and unsuspectingly, one could get into, a piece of your clothing or a pocket or a sock or something like that. You're enjoying your vacation, you come home, bring them in your house. About a month later, you're getting little bites and you don't understand why. And you actually brought them home from something as simple as that. So that's normally how the roaches, bed bugs usually get into most people's homes.
Great.
Any questions?
Well, Mike, this has been a really informative presentation, and I'm glad you didn't have any pictures of the scary bugs. But
hang on, I'll show you.
Oh, okay.
It's not a bug. It's not a bug. This is something that most people don't get to see all too often up close. And this is an actual yellow jacket nest. This is what
my gosh.
Pop them open, you can see all the cells on the inside.
Wow.
I have a little bit left over there.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah, and like I said, most of the time when we come across these guys, they're pretty busy, very active. So we have to get them out of people's homes safely. And I've seen some bigger than basketballs.
Wow.
Yeah.
There is one final question here. What is the best advice to give clients who have dogs or cats that are worried about a pest control company using poison?
Well, here's the thing about any product that any company is applying to any structure or yard. For example, some people want tick spraying, some people want control of your seasonal pests on the exterior. All the companies have to provide a label Now, the labels that we provide are all digital now. So you have the complete label, you have the complete MSDS sheet. It all comes with the invoice, and then you could also request it right there on hand. All of my techs carry them in the trucks. So the thing about products and safety is you can always look it up for yourself. You can always ask what's going to be applied ahead of time. In New York State, there's you have to put lawn signs up and neighbor notification. So people have to be made aware that something's going to be applied. As far as the safety for the animals, anything that we do apply has never given anybody an issue. It's all been approved through New York State, DEC and EPA. There are different types of products. Some are have a little better results than others. Some people opt to go with the green method, but that's going to give you less results. It's going to take longer times and might need more applications because you're not putting down a strong enough product that's going to hold up over, let's say, a month's time frame. And you can have weather is a big factor in breaking down the product. Certain conditions, if you have wetlands, it can't be applied to the wetlands. So that's why when you hire a professional, the professional knows these things, that's certified in those categories. They understand the safety factors that are involved. And if you have a good company and a good tech, they're going to explain it to you. All you've got to do is just ask the right questions. So if there are any others in regard to that, you can always look it up yourself. Either go to New York State DEC, or you could check out the product through Cornell Cooperative Extension. Those are two great, reliable sources on education and, giving you any information you want to know about anything being applied.
And somebody also, when we were talking about the roaches, how to prevent them, what do you actually use to treat them? Do you use like a spray or like the little roach motels? Or
it goes right back to that IPM concept. I told you it's integrated pest management. So we might use several different methods. We might use the bait, then they have it in the disc form, and then they have it in the gel form. Looks like a little syringe. It might be a spray to get behind a crack or crevice that will actually penetrate a chemical further back than the gel will. Might be a fogging, depends on how severe it is. We've certainly seen some severe cases over the years. Oh man, too many to mention. Blue boards. Blue boards are a great product to use because you don't have to use any type of a pesticide. And it's a natural attractant because it's glue. They eat glue. So they're going to get stuck on there. You just take them, throw them out, put some fresh ones down until the problem starts to dwindle. The problem is understanding how quickly roaches breed and how many they breed at a time. Now, your average cockroach can live up to about 2 years. The female has an egg capsule that it carries on its back, and it could lay up to 12 capsules a year. And inside each capsule is 30 to 60 nymphs. That's why when they reproduce in such large numbers. And they can reach sexual maturity within 6 weeks from birth. So you do the math, that's how it happens. Rodents, very similar too. They can live up to about a year, mice. They can have, I was just double checking everything. They can have up to 5 to 15 in a litter, and they reach sexual maturity in 35 days, and they can have up to 6 litters per year. Now, the thing about commensal mice, which means that they feel comfortable being around humans because we got the best food source. They can wean each other with other mice in the pack of mice that happen to be part of the connection of those rodents where they got their nesting. So other females can wean and nurse the other babies. So it's it's the kind of thing you need to stay on top of because it will get out of hand very quickly. So if there's any other questions, what you got there, Mary?
No, I think we're good. And I want to thank you. I think we all learned a lot. And I am recording this program and I'll send it around to everybody so that they'll have all of your contact information. And if anyone wants to get in touch with Mike, you can contact him directly, or if you can contact me.
Give us a call if you want. I got pamphlets here we could send out to you. So just give us a call. It'll fill in a little bit more info about it.
And I love your logo because it's got the little mouse. on it.
Yeah, he's protesting our work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not,
Okay.
we're not their biggest fan.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, and thank you all for joining us. I'm just trying to think of our next. Well, you'll get the email on Monday. Our next breakfast with benefits. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. So, and we are still doing them all virtually for now. I don't know when we're going back to live. Maybe this summer. I don't know, but for now, I think this is working pretty well, and nobody has to drive anywhere. So. Anyhow, but thank you all and have a great day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Pleasure. Take care.